So John Fetterman did a long interview here with CNN, and man, if anybody was holding out hope that maybe his head will be screwed on right in a little bit, you just got to give him some time, you just got to watch how horrible Trump is, and then eventually he'll come to his senses. No, I'm truly of the belief that when he had that stroke, it fucked up his brain. I truly believe that. In the same way that, when people get CTE, it's well known that they might lose impulse control, they might become more violent. I think whatever region of his brain was impacted is the reasoning portion and the empathy portion. I think he brain damaged himself into being conservative. And so I got a lot to say about this. Let's watch. We'll break it down as we go.
I'm going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument. And right now, I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles. And a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But
by the way, even this commentary is so outdated because like every single special election that's come out has shown massive Democratic victories, even more so than previous years where Democrats had massive victories. So this is already outdated. This idea of like, oh, Trump is Teflon Don and he always wins and he has this appeal that's like he's at 38% approval now, and Democrats have a low approval rating, but they're crushing in these special elections. What does that tell you? Give me analysis on that, not this bullshit outdated like, oh, we're too anti-Trump. Fucking please. You're not anti-Trump enough.
When I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
Are we really still doing this? Donald Trump tried to steal the election in 2020. He did a fake elector slate. January 6th is on video. They were making calls even after the violence saying, do not certify Joe Biden as the winner. That is definitely anti-Constitution. 100%. No doubt about it. To say he's not a fascist at this late date, what do you call fucking building concentration camps and sending people there with no due process? If that's not fascism, nothing is fascism. What about illegally bombing Iran, illegally bombing Somalia, illegally bombing Yemen, threatening now to bomb Mexico, already bombing Venezuela, a fishing boat in Venezuela, trying to start a war in Venezuela? What do you call all of that? Wildly illegal, on his own, no, ignoring Congress completely. What do you call that, John, if not fascism? I hate this guy, man.
You hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this interview, man. I might not be able to make it through.
Last night, for example, people were complaining. They were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler.
Of course he would say this. He's Netanyahu's biggest cheerleader. He's got his pom-poms right behind him. He's going to pick them up. Yay, Netanyahu! Kill more Palestinian babies! Yoo-hoo! This is what he's going to do. So, of course, he was like, don't compare anybody to Hitler, even the very clear iterations of modern-day Hitler who already have the blood of hundreds of thousands on their hands.
Now, look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, the man was shot. Now, we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people.
Says the man whose Twitter feed is a litany of cheerleading illegal and offensive aggressive attacks against Palestinians, against Iran. In fact, when Israel bombed Qatar, our ally, he goes, I support that. But, oh, we got to turn the rhetoric down because it's getting, violence might happen. You're cheerleading violence all the time. But you think it's okay because it's state violence. What a sick joke, man. This guy's brain doesn't work anymore.
To these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
So you don't think that Trump is at all shattering any of the...
So in other words, if you're democratically elected, you can't be an autocrat. You can't be a dictator. You can't be a tyrant. Hitler was democratically elected. Oh my God.
Forms of democracy in any way.
I'm saying he's definitely different, but that's what America voted for. Again, I don't agree with many of these things, but that does not make him an autocrat.
But one of the things I hear from Democrats a lot saying a reason why voters may not like Democrats is because they don't fight hard enough. Democrats should be fighting harder. What do you say to folks who say that?
What exactly is fighting? What is fighting?
I don't know. When the world's richest man illegally hacked into the government and cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, you motherfuckers should have immediately called that out, said, hey, he's cutting pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, so we're going to cut off every single fucking subsidy he has, and we're going to try to get his ass arrested. That's fighting. Fighting is when he bombed Iran, going to the floor and saying, this is illegal, this is unconstitutional, there's no evidence Iran was going to attack us, we should only use our military to protect the homeland against imminent defense, and so he needs to stop or we'll fucking impeach his ass. That's how you fight. You actually say, this is wrong and we're going to stop it. ICE is a Gestapo force, which is rounding up innocent people and sending them to concentration camps. We're going to defund them. We're going to do whatever we can to defund them. This is not a legitimate agency. This is a rogue agency. That's how you fight.
Delay more votes or just vote every no on everything, or saying, well,
yes and yes.
If they're doing X, well, then that means it's wrong, that kind of it.
Yeah, because it is wrong.
It's like, what exactly is fighting?
I'll give you an example. It could be
I love how he doesn't, like, even the concept of fighting back. He's like, how would that work? How would it work for me to do my job and represent my constituents? Kind of crazy. I just have to let them cut pediatric cancer research and let them kick 17 million people off of Medicaid. I just got to let them do it.
Some Democrats say if this happens, it'll be Trump's fault.
That's not fighting. That's mutilating our nation.
No, that's them mutilating our nation, not us. If he insists, I demand the power to do whatever I want, whenever I want to do it, no questions asked, and you need to vote to give it to me, then you say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to shut the government down. Then you go out there and say, Trump's demanding the powers of a fucking emperor. We're a democracy. If he wants us to vote to fund the government, he needs to say, well, I'm not going to be a fucking emperor. I'm going to agree to rules and regulations and constraints. The learned helplessness among Democrats is so disturbing.
If you vote to shut our government down, you are going to harm millions of Americans.
But with it open, they're harming millions of Americans. This is what I can't. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. The government is open. They kicked 17 million people off Medicaid. They kicked 3 million people off SNAP, which is the food stamp program. They cut Meals on Wheels. They cut pediatric cancer research. They're destroying American science. The government is open, and people are getting fucked. Oh, if they shut it, it'll hurt people. They're hurting people now with it open. At least if you shut it down, you can fucking demand your pound of flesh. The way the right gets what they want is that they're so unreasonable, and they're unhinged, and they throw their weight around, and they actually fight legislatively. Democrats are, I guess we can get together and work it out and find a way. I'll only give you 90% of what you want, not 100%. What is that? Just join the other party. You know you want to be there anyway.
And why would you do this? Where's our leverage? It was wrong. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. Absolutely, that's true. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. It would just be wrong for us. I
can't. This type of politics has to die. It just has to die because it's so fucking fallacious. When they throw their weight around and they're unhinged and they're vociferously fighting for their shitty agenda, the reason why it's bad is because it's a shitty agenda, right? When you use those same tactics for an agenda that's good, it's different because your goals are good. When they use the tactics, it's bad. When we use it, it's good. Yes. Unironically, yes. Because when they use it, they're trying to start more war and cut more social safety net programs and push more people into poverty and take healthcare away from people. Those goals are bad. So when they use those tactics, fuck them. But if you use those tactics to end war and to fund social safety net programs and to give more people health care, you're a fucking hero.
Has your party shifted or have you shifted ideologically?
My party is acting in a way they have forgotten. They have forgotten one of the reasons why we lost in 2024. Some of the most extreme things were weaponized against that. And now some people think now we have to double down on those things or we must become more progressive or more extreme.
Can you give me one fucking example of what you're talking about specifically? What policy goes too far? What policy is unacceptable? There's no specifics here. This is just total fucking centrist brain rot of like, oh yeah, we went too far left. Really? You went too far left? Really? That's the argument?
That's absolutely not true. The 7 or 8 states that are going to determine who's going to be the next president, we have to win in those states. And I understand what that takes. And a lot of these ideas that are now putting back and being reintroduced are not going to carry, Pennsylvania.
Speaking of which, you're talking about what's happening in New York. Zoran Mamdani, Democratic socialist. He is the Democratic nominee. And polls do say that he is ahead by a significant margin in that race. I mean, is this where your party's headed, and is it a wake-up call to Democrats like yourself?
Yes, it should be. Yes.
I don't believe that. New York.
What a shocker. What a shocker. He doesn't believe the Democratic Socialist is actually representative of what Democratic voters want, even though they are.
City is not reflective of our national political things. Certainly.
It absolutely the fuck is. Did you know Zoran Mamdani, he's running on a pro-Palestine platform, and the majority of Jews in New York City voted for him? Did you know that? This is the thing, like this idea of like, well, New York Democrats are different from Democrats in fucking Oklahoma. Really? Have you seen the I've Had It podcast? They're in Oklahoma. They're a lot like Zoran Mamdani. In fact, that's where the heart and the soul of the Democratic Party is right now. Democratic voters are radicalized, and I mean that in the best way possible. That they look around and they go, this wishy-washy centrism bullshit is not going to work. These motherfuckers are insane. We need to fight. We need to make sure We're arguing for our position. We're using every legislative trick we can to get it through. We're blocking everything they want to do. This is where the base is, bro. They're not with fucking Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and your bitch ass.
The states are going to determine who's going to be the next president. So I don't take any kinds of lessons or anything from that election.
Trump is threatening to send the National Guard into a number of these.
By the way, if it was any Democrat that made his argument, like he could go pick the most centrist or right-wing Democrat in the country who just won an election, and if he was asked, hey, does this reflect where the party should go, he would say, absolutely it should, even if it's in some fucking Tuscaloosa or some shit. Doesn't matter. He would say, oh, that absolutely is where we need to go. But since it's a democratic socialist, oh, no, I take no lessons from that. Because the game is rigged. The game is rigged. They're refusing to see the plain-faced reality in front of their eyes right now that the Democratic base is no longer... The polls don't show anymore 70% of the Democratic base saying, I want you to compromise with the right. Now it's only like 20% that want you to compromise with the right. Because they woke up and they realized these people are not honest actors.
Blue cities, blue states. We're seeing Democratic mayors in Chicago and in Baltimore resist federal help, additional federal help. Is that a good idea to fight Trump on this?
No, what I'll say is, like, I experienced that, it's like I live in Navy Yard. I would walk to work, and I would see a lot of National Guard people. It honestly wasn't a big deal. They were friendly. They were standing around. And this wasn't like there was Russian army. This was, it's our sons, our daughters, our fathers, our mothers kind of a thing. If you actually experience it on the ground, it's really not like it's not occupied city or anything. So for me,
it absolutely is occupied. Are you kidding me? If he's illegally sending in the military like he did in LA and they don't want it, that's occupied. Now, by the way, a great update for you on that story. So Trump was all ready to go to send the troops into Chicago, and the fact that the mayor and the governor presented a united front and said, we will not cooperate, we'll have our police forces not cooperate with you at all. The fact that they stood their ground and said, we're not giving an inch, we don't fucking want you here, and we're going to make your life a hell if you do it. Trump backed off. He backed off because, as I said, if you give the fascist an inch, he will take a mile. If you don't give him fucking anything, he'll crumble. And that's what happened. But here's fucking fuckface, dipshit McFuckface here, and his, it's not occupation, and maybe you should actually just let them come. If you took his advice, you'd have, 17 more Democratic cities in this country being illegally invaded by the U.S. military, taking National Guard members from red states and sending them to blue cities so that they round up people, and as they're doing it, they say, liberals destroyed this country, as we saw in D.C. This is a soft civil war where the red states are attacking the blue cities, and the blue cities aren't even fighting back. But this is what Trump wants. He wants martial law, he wants police state, he wants the red states invading the blue cities, and he wants to maintain iron grip on power from now until the end of time.
As a small town mayor, I asked for help. I asked for help to confront gun violence and crime. If I was a mayor and I had a significant kinds of violence situation, I would be happy to get help. Honestly, for that.
Should they?
I've done that.
And do you think they should too? Chicago, Baltimore, and the like. They should accept it.
All I'm saying that it's like when 600 people are killed in Chicago once every year, roughly. I think it's entirely appropriate.
Are you comfortable with the way these ICE raids have been carried out in some of these cities?
Not entirely. No. I believe we should have a secure border. And I absolutely believe you should round up all of the criminals. And
he can't help himself. Even when he's given the right answer, he gives the wrong answer. Yeah, ICE has gone too far, but I believe in a secure border. I believe you should round up the criminals. You are just allowed to talk about left-wing things. You are just allowed to say, when ICE covers their face and rounds up innocent people with no due process and sends them to a concentration camp and waits outside of immigration courtrooms, and even when the judge says you're free to go, and then they round you up anyway and take you to a concentration camp, that's illegal, that's wrong, that's unconstitutional, that's fascist. That's not acceptable. But he can't help himself. Even when he says, yeah, they're going too far, he can't help but go, but I believe in a strong border. This is how the right has hijacked the dialogue in this country. The gravitational pull of the right and their perspective forces even Democrats to go, oh, yeah, but secure border. Like, it's fucking pathetic. Have some fucking balls. Stand for something. Is now really the time to say, the Gestapo has some points? Fuck that.
I do think you should deport those, but I don't think it's really helpful to raid a factory and round up all of them and deport them. I don't think it's appropriate to go to like a slaughterhouse in Nebraska and round them up and deport them things. That's not true either. I don't think America really supports those things. I think two things must be true: a secure border, round up all the criminals, but we don't and shouldn't target otherwise hardworking migrants that are just effectively making a significant contribution to our economy.
I wonder politically, you talk about what happened, and Democrats may not have learned the lessons from the last election. Do you think the issues of crime,
like the border, for example, the border, those kind of things? We are living in the backlash of a lot of the things and the mistake that we have made as a party.
What mistake? Joe Biden deporting 4 million people? This is just alternate reality shit, and it's permeated our entire media. Where everybody, Democrats, open borders, Biden, open border. And it's like you go and you actually look at the numbers and you're like, oh shit, he deported 4 million fucking people. So they're just full of shit. And everybody repeats their talking points. Like, oh yeah, Democrats, open borders, Biden, open borders. It's like none of you have any idea what the fuck you're talking about, but you've convinced yourselves that Democrats have a completely open border.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. Are crime and immigration, are you worried that there will be liabilities for Democrats in the midterms next year?
If you are willing to sink, like if 600 homicides a year are okay, or we don't need help. If I was mayor, I'd be like, absolutely, I'd be grateful for help. Just because if Trump is calling for something X, Y, and Z, then that doesn't mean you have to necessarily oppose that.
Which party is calling for gun control? We have fucking tens of thousands of shootings every year. Which party is saying, I think we can reduce that? I think we can regulate guns, get rid of the high-capacity magazines and the assault weapons and do universal background checks and red flag laws. Who's serious about addressing the crime issue when one party is talking about gun reform and the other one is like, never? But of course, he has to go, this is just bullshit. At this point, this idea that crime will swing the fucking next election. Are you kidding me? Every special election has had Democrats crushing. Any election where it's free and fair, Democrats will win handily in the midterms, right? The question is, will they fight and win by double digits, or will they not fight and win by 4? That's the question.
I think I was the only Democrat that supported striking the Iranian nuclear facilities too. That was entirely.
Oh, I love how he brags about that. I'm the only Democrat who supported the illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. Oh, you fucking hero. Did he have another stroke? I'm serious. Did he have another stroke? The way he acts, the way he's answering these questions, the inability of his brain to make sense of anything. He's acting like he had another stroke.
Appropriate. I think that was the right thing to do. And I really believe that too.
You think the party has not learned the lessons from last year? That's fair to say, right?
It's not. It hasn't been a year. It hasn't been a year yet right now. And that's what I'd like to remind people. It's like a lot of those things really cost our election now. I don't think there has been an effective evaluation. I don't have an exact answer, but I'm not going to just spit out things and pretend that I know that it's absolutely right.
One of the issues you found yourself on the opposite sides of your party is on the issue of Israel. Are you comfortable with the way that Netanyahu is waging this war in Gaza right now, including these strikes in Qatar?
I absolutely fully support continue to destroy Hamas for that. And now, of course, the situations in Gaza, it is difficult. But for some people, they choose to blame Israel for that. I blame Hamas. I blame Iran.
I love how he says that like it's some novel thought, like it's not some AIPAC garbage that they shoved into his head. I blame Hamas. Oh. Unbelievable. Independent thinker. Way to go, fella. Way to go. You want a lollipop?
And I blame that. So for me, that's what, and people aren't speaking the truth that Hamas could send the hostages home and disarm. And then that's the first opportunity that we can all move on and the Palestinians could finally have an opportunity to live.
That's a total lie. In fact, Hamas literally offered exactly that. They offered to give up all the hostages. Israel said no. They offered, we'll drop our weapons and leave Gaza if you leave. Israel said no. They want Hamas there. They want the perpetual boogeyman, which will allow them to then try to justify and rationalize reoccupying all of Gaza and resettling all of Gaza. That's what they're planning on doing. The idea that he thinks the Palestinians can do fucking anything now to make Israel stop is preposterous. They're going to take all of Gaza. They're also going to take all of the West Bank. They bombed Syria. They stole a bunch of land in Syria. They are the aggressor. They are the baddie. And here he is repeating fucking 9-month-old talking points of, well, just put your weapons down and leave Gaza and everything will be all right. They offered that. Israel said no. And I'm not kidding. We covered that when it happened. It was a big deal. Dropsite News reported it. Hamas literally offered, we will drop our weapons and leave if you get the fuck out of here. And Israel said no. They rejected it. They're not negotiating in good faith because their end goal is a greater Israel. That's where they got their eye on the prize. That's the prize. And fucking little idiots and sycophants like you are out there doing their propaganda for them.
In peace, and they could start to rebuild their lives.
Were you okay with the strike that they just had in Doha? against the Hamas leadership in Israel. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely, it's appropriate.
Guys, you need to understand something. Even the Trump regime is having to pretend right now like they don't support the attack in Doha, in Qatar. Because that is a wanton violation of the territorial sovereignty of Qatar, a U.S. ally. We have a U.S. base there. It puts the Abraham Accords into threat now, where that might all fall apart. And they didn't even hit their fucking target. And here's this idiot going, oh yeah, I support that. Even Trump, even the U.S. had to pretend at the UN, we're not okay with the attack on Qatar. Are you fucking stupid? Are you mental? He went to the right of the stated Trump position. Now, it's not the real Trump position was they supported it. They greenlit it. Let's be serious. But the fake stated position is, oh yeah, we're against that because they have to be. He's too stupid to even realize that. He goes to the right of the Trump regime on this. What an idiot. Oh my God, what an idiot.
Hamas is willing to surrender and send people home. That's a war, and it's a just war. There's no ethnic cleansing. It's not a genocide. This is a just war, and I don't know why people blame Hamas for those circumstances right now, that it's not Israel's
They
fault.
say
oh my God. Just so you know, there was a former IDF general who came out this week and he said, we've killed a minimum 200,000 Palestinians in Gaza. That's the actual number. There was another report from some academics that said the number was as high as 680,000. There was a number from a doctor from a few months ago who said, I think the number is about 300,000. But even ex-IDF generals are saying it's at least 200,000. We took the gloves off. Nobody stopped us. We killed at least 200,000. Here he is saying, it's not a genocide. You have generals bragging about killing 200,000. By the way, the total number of Hamas in Gaza at the beginning of this was anywhere between 30 and 40,000. They've killed 200,000 people. Even if they killed every Hamas member, you still killed overwhelmingly civilians and overwhelmingly women and children. He goes, no, that's not a genocide. Oh, it's not a genocide to cut off food, fuel, and water to 2.3 million people to go after 30,000 of them? That's not a genocide? It's not a genocide to starve people to death, as has been happening endlessly. It's not a genocide to bomb hospitals and schools and fucking tents and humanitarian facilities and World Central Kitchen workers. That's not a genocide. They're literally shooting people and killing them as they desperately try to get aid to survive. That's not a genocide. Of course it's a fucking genocide. In fact, look, we just fucking covered it. We literally just covered it. There was a devastating new report in a Dutch newspaper. It's 15 doctors who were in Gaza. They came back and said, just us. We have 114 examples of Palestinians getting shot in the fucking head from distance on purpose. Purposely shooting children in the head as young as fucking toddlers. That's not a genocide. John Fetterman should resign. He's a fucking disgrace.
Israel's using starvation as a weapon. Are they?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Israel is not deliberately starving people. Absolutely. Those conditions are miserable there, and it is hell on earth. Why? Some people blame Israel for that. I blame Hamas and Iran for that thing.
Hamas and Iran? Oh my God. I don't know if he had another stroke, but he's acting like he had another stroke. He may as well have had another stroke because he's gone from bad to worse. Look, I'm going to call it. I think he's worse than Sinema, and I think he's worse than Manchin. I think he is. Tell me if you agree with that in the comment section below, but this guy is the worst. All right, y'all, that's the show. I love y'all very much. You know the drill. Everybody subscribe to the channel, support the show on Patreon, go sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack, and go subscribe to the Corns World YouTube channel where we do live Kyle and Corns. I love you guys. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.